phone stopped taking a charge, so I thought, I need a phone that you can turn on. And this only allows me to do 1080 resolution video. And I'm scary looking in 1080, so oh well, too bad. I didn't realize it was better. Blurry is better, but this is crystal sharp, and it's like, oh my god. Anyways, you don't have to know all that crap. But for those of you in the front row, if you can help me, it only does 34 minutes now instead of 53, so if you can tell me when it turns off, cool. Alright, so this one they give you 74. And before I get too far, everybody's cool with the fact that I got my textbook a few years ago. They've changed it a little bit so the page numbers don't match, and the page numbers don't match with either of those if you get it straight from online. But the numbers I have assigned are the correct numbers to do. Is everybody cool with that? All right, I still get every now and again an email from somebody, but I've told you which numbers to do. Yes?
So on the online homework, it's the actual page. It'll say at the top, page number. And then it's those problems. Or is it if you scroll?
I don't understand. How do you mean? There's no online homework.
No. I mean like in the textbook.
Oh, in the textbook, yeah. Their page numbers are different from the printed page numbers, and the printed page numbers of the newer books are different from the printed page numbers in the book I have.
Okay.
Yeah, kicks ass. So thank God they just did 1 through 1,000,000. So it doesn't matter what page they're on. You do the problems I assign. That's all. Is that cool? And there's one problem that they put in section 1.2. I put in section 1.3 homework because they made a mistake. It was a 1.3 problem. So don't just do the problems I assigned. Trust me. I know what I'm doing. Cool. So 74. They give you these numbers here. 78, 76, 81, blah, 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 blah. And there's some 90s and some 50s. 51, 99. There's more. Right? Is that cool? Is that the one? Yeah. And then they ask you to construct a stem and leaf plot of the data. So how would I do that? How do you make a stem and leaf plot?
Put them in order.
Well, you don't have to put them in order first, to be honest. This could be a way you put them in order.
So you do the stem, you do the leading number, and then the leaf are the numbers after that.
So what would I put there?
So the first one, well, I did them in order, so I did like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Beautiful.
To make it easier. And then I have one.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
So 50s, 60s, 70s. So then here you would put 51, for example.
Yeah.
And then any more 52, 53, whatever would go there. I don't see any 60s. I don't know. I didn't write them all down. Like 70, I would put, I could do it in order at the same time. 76, 77, 78. And there's more numbers, I know, but you can just do what I'm doing with all the numbers. Does that make sense?
The one that I want is the B.
Oh, okay. So it turns out, let me see. Well, I've almost written all of them. I might as well. 81, 86, 51, 79, 82, 84, 99. All right, just looking at that data, and it's easier to see when you've done this. Are there any 60s? No. So there'll be some stuff here, there'll be some stuff here. So what would you say is the outlier? And what do you think outlier means? Good.
I chose 99 because it was such a bigger number than the rest of the numbers, and they said usually it's a number that's like really high or doesn't really fit with the rest of the numbers.
Or really low. So there's actually something that's even more of an outlier than 99.
76 would be done, 'cause it's right.
Which one? 51.
Oh.
It's a whole class away from where the rest of the data is, right? 99, I would agree. You could possibly say that's an outlier because it's 15 away from the next one. But 51 is way far away. There's no 60s. So an outlier is not where the data looks to normally be. So I would say if somebody was 3'9", I'd say they're an outlier as far as height goes. Or if somebody was 7'11", right? I'd say, well, that's an outlier. I wouldn't say it to his face, maybe. You're an outlier. Is that an insult? What is that? Cool. Have you ever seen Children of the Corn, by the way? Every time I say outlier, I'm like, Outlander! We have your woman. Yes?
I'm still kind of confused. It's to why it would be 51, because 51 would only be 9 away from 6, right? Oh, but if there's no 6.
There's nothing here.
76?
Yeah, there wasn't any 60,
Oh, I
right?
see. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But 99 is sort of an outlier too. There's no other 90s, and then the 99 is way at the end. 51 for sure. 99 I would take also.
Okay.
Because where does it seem the data is clustering in the 70s and 80s? So 51 is definitely an outlier, and 99 is. So if these were grades on a test, this guy feels really good, and everybody hates this person or wants to sit next to this person. And this person is like, oh, like that. Okay. All right. Before I forget, we do have a quiz this Thursday on Chapter 1. Let's just make it on Chapter 1. And then we'll probably have a quiz on Tuesday. Oh, yeah. We'll see what happens. Because when is their first test? Yeah, so we have today, Thursday, and next Tuesday. Because next Thursday will be review day for the test. You guys kind of with me? So we have like 3 lecture days before we review, and then the test happens. Okay. Anything else from homework? Yes.
Could you go over chapter 2, 70 or 78? It's the first one where it's comparing.
The one you have to construct a histogram, right?
No.
No.
It's number 88, chapter 2.
88. Gotcha.
It's comparing the.
Oh, so we haven't gotten into 2-4 yet.
Okay.
Cool. I like it. So that's good. Good you would have a question because we haven't talked about it yet. Today we're going to talk about 2-4. Yeah, amongst other things. Anything else from homework? Yes? No? Okay, so let's do this. I want to show you how to use the calculator for a few things. If you don't have it today, it's you're not going to die. I think I said last time we were going to use a calculator today. So let me pull this up here. And let me remind you. Oh, I keep forgetting. It focuses itself. My old phone, I had to push the screen for it to focus. Now I keep taking a picture every time I hit the screen. All these pictures sitting in there. Just to remind you guys, if you go to my website, if you hate the fact that I don't use Blackboard, well, too damn bad. Here's the TI calculator guide. What I used to call the calculator Bible. It's got all this stuff. It's got general stuff of how to use the calculator as a calculator. And then it's got this stuff down here about how to use it to do statistical stuff, right? So it sounds like a really good thing to print out and have next to you as you do your work. You can't use it on the test, but you can use it on your homework. Okay. Go away. Let's see. Large screen. Cool. All right. Can you guys see that all right? Do I want to tempt fate here? Hey, all right. So let's create some data so that we can use it. Do I want to use that data? No. Let's use some new data. I'm going to show you a quick little example where I get to the point where I get my classes set up, because then after that it's just counting stuff to get your histogram put together. So if you missed last class, oh, shit. So let's make some data up. Let's say this is, I don't know, grades on a test or something. Okay, so that looks pretty good. This is just for the people at home. There's the data we're using. Don't take a picture, Jeff. So if you have a calculator, how many guys have a calculator today with you? A TI-80, 80, whatever. Okay, good. So everybody's at least sitting near somebody with a calculator, so you can look on with them if they let you, or you just sneak peeks if they're mean. So if you got a calculator, hit the stat button. That seems like the most important button for us. So that stat button is right there. Right there. And by the way, real quick, just a real quick word, since if you've never used this calculator before, how many guys have never used this calculator before ever? All right. It's a good idea just to start using it as your everyday calculator. And for some people, I know that's a weird phrase. My everyday calculator. Sorry. But it's just like a scientific calculator that shows you everything. It's not like the basic calculator where if you put a new number in, it overwrites the old number and you're like, what did I put in there? You can see everything happening, right? So there you go. We're going to have some very long, involved formulas in this class. So let's say I had to put this in there. Blush. And I'm like, oh shit, that should have been a 7 right there. I don't want to retype the whole thing, right? So if you hit second, enter, and if some of you guys have the newer, most of you guys probably have the newer one, where if you just hit the up arrow and hit enter, it'll copy the last line for you. And I'll show you a couple other things to make sure if you have the old one. If I just hit second enter, or if you guys just hit the up arrow and select that one before, then I can go back and change whatever I want to. Make that a 7 instead, right? So when you have this big-ass formula and make one little mistake, you don't want to have to retype the whole damn thing. So you can edit what you've entered. How can you tell if you have the newer calculator? When you hit the square root button, so second is like a shift button, and then your square root is right above x squared, which makes sense. They're inverses of each other, so that's the square root. When you hit the square root button, does a parenthesis open next to it or not? If a parenthesis doesn't open, when you start typing stuff, do you see how I'm jealous of you, actually, and only a math teacher would be jealous of somebody else's math calculator. When you start typing stuff in, does your square root button, square root just get longer? That's the newer versions of the calculators. They actually make it look like you would write it on a piece of paper. You would just make the square root longer, right? So to get out of the square root, you guys would have to hit the over arrow if your square root does get bigger. If it doesn't, you don't close the parenthesis until you're done putting stuff into the square root. You with me? Because now everything in there, 79 times 8 minus 5, all that's inside the square root. And then if I put plus 3, that's outside the square root. You guys understanding so far? So parentheses are very important here. Hopefully you've used scientific calculators before. And this is just like a scientific calculator with the home screen. I like it. Cool. Maybe. And then you hit enter. Now let's say I wanted to take the square root of that. I can hit the square root button, and then this is really kick-ass. It's got all kinds of memory, but see it down here above the negative sign? There's an A and S. That's temporary memory. It holds the last number that showed up on the screen. So that would do the square root of that big-ass number. Bam! So I don't have to type the whole damn number in. Kind of good little basics to know. And all that stuff's on that calculator Bible. So if you've never used this calculator before, you should probably print out that calculator Bible. And I've got to remember to forward to you guys, there are some intro to the TI graphic calculator workshops coming up. There's one that's not stats-based, which you should still go to if you haven't used it. And then there's one that's stats-based. So I'll have to remember to forward that to you guys. Unless have anybody gotten emails about that yet? They're supposed to be sending that out sometime. Okay, so it's next week, I think. All right. So how are we doing so far? We're good? All right, let's do some statistics. So again, the stat button seems like something you'll hit a lot. And the thing with this is, of course, the whole thing with stats sometimes is you got to just get the freaking data in so we can do so. So you hit the edit button so you can enter data. All right, so if you're playing along, you got to let me know the minute your calculator does something weird. Does everybody's screen that's playing along with me look like this? What's happening? Did you guys hit the stat and edit button, right?
Yeah, it has some numbers.
Oh, okay. If it has numbers, you're fine.
I have data in here.
That's fine. That's fine. So if you have data, let's say you have some data in the way 8, 6, 22, blah, blah, blah. You just go to the list and you hit clear. Enter. And it clears the list. Don't hit delete, because then list 1 will disappear. you'll delete the list, and you're like, oh shit. If ever you come in here and you're borrowing a calculator and it says, like, instead of list 1, list 2, it says Fred and Bill and list 8 and something weird shit, you hit stat setup editor, and that brings it back to normal, brings it back to L1, L2, L3. Because you can rename these lists and stuff like that, so if you're borrowing your calculator, who knows what the hell person before you did.
What about missing list 2?
Good. Setup editor brings it back to normal. So get stat, number 5, enter, and then go back into edit, and your list 2 should be back.
It says done.
Exactly. It's a little anticlimactic.
Okay.
You got to go back in, and then you'll see what it did. It's like, I have done what you asked. Oh, okay. Take me there. All right. How are we doing now? Is everybody just playing along with me here? All right, and the rest of you are just watching. Okay. So let's put this data in. Let's see. So just take a minute, just put the data in. 41, 78. This is the exciting part of statistics. Hopefully you guys know I'm joking. A rot. So the worst thing in the world is when you mistype a number. So thank God you have a teacher that gives you partial credit. Right? So I understand these things can happen. But in the process of setting up the histogram, when we make the table, you just make sure that the counts all add up to the right number. How many data points are there? 12. The 13th spot is empty, see? So there's 12 data points. So if I set up my frequency table and I get 11, I missed somebody. Oh shit. So I gotta go find out who you missed. Alright, so the very first thing we're going to do, obviously with a really small set of data like this, you don't need the calculators. It's easy to sort this, but let's go ahead and see how the hell it sorts things, in case Jeff gives you one with 50 data points. Right? So amazingly enough, if you hit the stat button, where do you think I want to go?
Sort.
Yeah, what's the difference? Sort A, sort D? Ascending and descending. So let's sort it ascending from smallest to biggest. Right? So hit number 2. You can either scroll down to 2 and hit enter, or you just hit the number 2. Don't matter. Now, what do you think what do you think it wants here? It wants to know which list you want to sort. It didn't know what you want. So I'm going to tell it where your list, a little above 1. It says L1. So you hit second 1. So I want it to sort list 1. Enter. And again, it's a little anticlimactic, right? And it's like, blow that building up. Okay, it's done. Say again? I'm sorry? Oh, so sort is the second one, and then second, so your shift button, 1. See how L1 is above the 1 key, L2 is above the 2 key? So you have the shift button, the second button to get up. I like it, right? And now the calculator for me is like, I did that already. So now if you go back in stat, edit, it's in order now, right? So it kind of hides what it did. So you got to go back in there and see that it did something. And now you could see what the highest is, what the lowest one is. How would I develop my classes? What would be the next step to develop what my classes would look like? Let's say, how many classes do you want to use, you think? I mean, is this a big list of data? 5 would be great. Right? I would say 5 for sure. All right? So if I want to use 5 classes, how do I figure out how wide my classes are?
Okay. The highest number.
Do it again. What about the highest number? What's the highest number? 99. What's the lowest number? 39. So I want to see how far I've got to go, divided by how many steps I'm going to take will tell me how big each step has to be. Right? My steps are my classes. Is that cool? My rectangles? That should make physical sense. How far do I have to go? 99 I got to go that far. And how many classes, how many steps do you want to take? 5 steps. So now I know how big each step has to be, so I get all the way through my data. Because it makes physical sense. Let it make physical sense. Math doesn't always make physical sense. Because the physical reality is just one thing that math models. Yes?
I know you subtracted it one time, but then now you're dividing it.
I'm subtracting high minus low,
Okay.
and I want to divide that up into 5 parts, and that'll tell me how big each part's going to be, how big each rectangle is going to be. So we've always, the one time we did this before we did this. So I get 60 divided by 5 is 12, right? So what does that mean? Yeah, so where do I start? 39, I like it. Pretty much almost always going to start at the first data point. And just to show you, the book doesn't do it with the inequality way, and so they got to use decimals and bullshit like that. If you use the inequality way I showed you, you never have to worry about that kind of stuff. So the way I would do this is 39 up to what?
41.
Yeah, because then, well, who?
51.
51. And then 51 up to, because I'm going by 12 every time, right? The book would represent this as 38.5 up to 50.5. And then 50.5, and that's crap. That is crap. I'm sorry. I don't like that way. I got to be careful because there's some textbooks show this. Most textbooks nowadays show this, and this is just, to me, this is just dumb. This is dumb. It looks like it overlaps, but why? So why do they have to go to decimals so that there's a definite place for 50 and there's a definite place for 51? Well, how do we do it? We just say 51 goes there. Bam! I don't need decimals. That would so suck. I don't know if I'm really under. So the book shows this. So in case you're looking at the book's examples, and they actually have some setup like this, that is the way it would look like in inequalities. This is just much clearer, at least to me. I don't know. Okay, maybe. And then I would start to do, once I got my classes set up, I'd just keep going by 12s, right? What would I put here? That would be my classes. What would I put here for frequency? Well, from 39 to 51, how many data points are there? 3. Good. And then so forth. I like it. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, good. So the main thing I wanted to show you today was how the calculator can come in and help us sort the data that we're working with. The rest of it would be just like we did the other day. Yes?
For the last input for classes, would you have a different symbol? Like when you started with 39, would you input that same symbol or would you keep it open?
I'm sorry, which symbol are we talking about?
Like if you keep going down, you go 63 to 75, and 75 to 87, and 87 to 99. Would it be the same?
So the last one, this is the one, remember when it goes in evenly?
Yeah.
The last one, you're going to make this a less than or equal to, so you can suck that 99 in. I think that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
If it goes in evenly, it's going to have that problem.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's okay if when we add a really large list of numbers, not like this, for example, but let's say a lot, and it's okay to put tally marks where frequency is.
Totally.
Okay.
Yes, as long as you just collect them at the end, so you can just tally as you go. That's beautiful.
All right.
That's awesome. So that would be like an intermediate step, and then you put the number for the frequency, and then relative frequency. What would you do to get relative frequency?
The frequency divided by 39.
So it'd be 3 over 12. So 25%, right? 1/4. All right, how are we feeling so far? We feeling all right? Some of us look worried. Several of us have really good poker faces. You're like, you get nothing from me. Yes?
I have a question about these tables, because I actually did some. Is it going to always be 1 at the end on your total for the last column?
Depending on if you rounded at all, right?
Well, if you do, are you supposed to round?
Sometimes I'd hope to God you would.
Okay.
Yeah,
But it
'cause-
should be 1 or really close to 1.
Because if you're dividing by 17, it's going to come out gross. Please, dear God, round. And if you and of course, if you round, sometimes you might round more up than down, just because of the way the numbers are. So then your numbers might add up to be more than 1 or more than 100%.
Right.
But it shouldn't be more than 1% off or so.
Right.
If it's more than that, you maybe missed something or included too
Why
much.
is it always equal around 1? I understand the numbers and what to do, but I don't really understand why. It's just like a bunch of numbers.
So the percentage is the percentage of the data that falls in that class. Is that cool?
Yeah.
So if I add all of my percentages up, I should get 100% of my data.
Oh, I see.
That's why. And if you left one data point out, then it's not going to add up to be 100. And that would tell you get like 97% maybe, and that's telling you left something out. That's not a rounding problem. That's way too far away.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it. Good. Yes.
Sorry, just real quick. I wasn't here last class, so I apologize. But so you're going to have technically five rows.
Yes. Good. I like it.
Okay. So when you get down to, because you're going by 12 every time.
Yes.
Get down to the 84. You're just going to go straight to 96, 99. I mean.
I'm sorry? Oh, 87, thank you.
Okay. That's very good.
Is that cool? And then the next thing you would do off of this is you could actually make the histogram now. It'd be 39, 51, blah, blah, blah. If I want you to make a relative frequency, maybe it go by 10, 20, 30. So the first bar would go to 25%, right? The height of the bar would represent the percentage that's in that class. Okay, cool. All right, so this is really coming right off of that last lecture. So if you missed it, I'm sorry. Get near people that were here so you can kind of follow along and get caught up. So for right now, if there's no other questions, I want to give you, yes?
One more question. So on the exam, will you want us to show all of the ones we just did on the board, plus the diagram at the bottom? Or when you just drew?
Yes. So I'm going to ask you to make a table, make a frequency or a relative frequency table, and then I'm going to ask you to make a frequency or a relative frequency histogram. I like it.
Can we do it the way they do it in the book?
You could, totally. If it's in the book, you can do it that way if you want to.
Well,
Totally.
it's just because like on the homework problems,
I got you.
doing it that way.
Gotcha.
So,
Like in the homework, they have a. Oh, where was it? Yeah, here we go. No, even there they don't do it the same way. What the hell? But so here they have like they have a problem where it's the classes go like this. Just want to show you. They have like 49.5 to 59.5, and then 59.5 to 69.5. It's amazing, Jeff. You should. Now, what would that look like as an inequality? What is this? What whole numbers does this include? Does it include 49? You sure? Is 49 in between 49 and a half and 59 and a half? No. So it goes from 50 up to 60. Because would 59 be in here? Yes, 59 would be in there. So you want to go up to 60. And then 60 to 70. And see how, what's the class width here? How wide is that? And what's the class width here? Which one looks cleaner? That one? Look at this scale. I don't know if you understand. Maybe. And what sucks with this is, what if you had a 59.5? Where would it go? Oh, then you'd have to have another decimal place. Oh, no. Here, I don't care how many decimals my data has. That's all I need, ever. I don't have to make more decimals so I have somewhere. No, screw that shit. Sorry. That's why I really wish more and more books are doing this. There is absolutely no reason for that to happen except, oh, the students don't like inequality. Screw that shit. You got to know inequalities. You just have to. Well, algebra is a prereq for this course. So yes, let's reinforce inequalities. Don't run away. The students don't like it. Let's do it. No, screw that. That's the only thing I can think of why they're doing that. Anyway, I'll let it go. Sorry. A little bit passionate about it. All right, so let's do this. You guys can work together or not. It's up to you. I just want you to work on this